Hey, I'm Leonard from Bad Brick Studio and I'm finally back from a 4-month break. To say that some interesting things have happened since my last upload would be nothing less than an understatement, so let's get into this. First of all, you might have heard that my goal for 2020 was to reach 100 subscribers by Christmas Eve, 100 subscribers till Christmas Eve, 100 subscribers till Christmas, 100 subscribers by Christmas Eve. And I did, but honestly I can't express my gratitude enough. It's been a fun ride since I started uploading some years ago and now I've finally made it to my first real milestone. So thank you. With this goal achieved, I'll have to think how I can continue this channel, but no worries, a bunch of things happened, so I sure won't run out of possible video ideas anytime soon. Before I start to tell you about the last 4 months, make sure you are seated as this is gonna be one hell of a ride. To those of you who have followed my channel, it should come to no surprise that the thing I was most occupied with in the last 2 months of 2020 was the 3rd season of my Star Wars Battlefront Scratch game. It was my biggest project yet. Not only was the scope large, so also was the difficulty coordinating a team of 4 artists and 2 programmers over the span of 2 months, while simultaneously managing school. It got a bit close to the end, so I didn't have the time to make a trailer, but it turned out great nonetheless. The new season added a great many new things to the game, like a starfighter mode, 3 new factions, half a dozen or so maps, a complete redo of all trooper graphics alongside skins and many more details. I thought about making a big behind the scenes video explaining how the project was done, so if you would like this, just tell me. The community interaction also greatly increased compared to all other updates, sparking a massive mod wave of the game, with Blue Blur 2020 being a driving force behind them. But in early February 2021, I thought about the future of this project and decided to cut support for Star Wars Battlefront Scratch in the foreseeable future. However, this is not the end of the project. The reasoning behind this is that it is the truth that with the new update, due to the size and complexity of the project, we as a team are meeting the limits of the Scratch engine, causing lag and long loading times, making the game difficult to enjoy. It also greatly limits our ability to improve upon the graphics, among other things. So we decided to port the game from Scratch to Unity, which gives us far more possibilities and solves certain inherent problems with the self-built engine. The idea of porting Scratch games I made or others I like to Unity isn't a new one to me. I already thought about this back when I first got Unity, but now this is the first project that actually gets translated to Unity. More on that later. This means for the game that the Scratch version will soon stop getting updated majorly, but the project itself will rise from its ashes to new greatness, as we are already working on the Unity version, which will this time, contrary to the Scratch version, get devlogs for you to closely follow the development. But all further will be shared in a devlog soon to come. After finishing the Battlefront update, I was basically working on the game for about half a year, so my shooter fascination was a bit exhausted. So I turned back to the true origins of the render engine I used for Battlefront Scratch, which was originally created for real-time strategy games. With the knowledge I learned in the last years, I finally turned towards the reason I got into Scratch programming in the first place: creating Total War-like RTS games. All of my previous attempts at such a battle engine hadn't succeeded, to say the least, so I got onto creating one. There currently only are 2 real other implementations of Total War battles, being the one by Heidi GG Delone from his excellent port of Empire Total War to Scratch, and the other one by Jaws739, which however only got released after mine was already well into development. Mine features camera movement, zooming, melee and ranged combat, terrain types, pausing, halting and having near real game-like controls. But it's not finished yet, so I'll just host a Turbo Warp link in the comments for you to try it out. Instructions will be in the backdrop part. I'll give you a more in-depth look into the engine soon and might even upload a couple of devlogs when I eventually continue work on it, but more on that soonish. A Total War game I always wanted to get was Attila, due to the very personal interest in the time period. I've done a fair bit on research on the late Roman legions, as the time period has interested me ever since I saw a page from an ancient document, the Notitia Dignitatum, which its full name being the Notitia Dignitatum Omnium Tam Civilium Quam Militarium in Partibus Occidensis, for the Western, and the Notitia Dignitatum Omnium Tam Civilium Quam Militarum in Partibus Orientis, for the Eastern half respectively. Sorry, I needed to flex that. So I've started that research some 2 years ago, but recently picked up on a project again, this time doing some more academically based and more complete research, for writing it down in a compendium of knowledge, more commonly known as a book. I'm actually about to consult real professors and other historians on the topic, so I hope this works. So when I saw Attila on Steam sale last week, I of course had to get it, although I haven't played it yet. So till I pull off some legendary stuff like Uridian, it will take some time. I also had to get some other games that have been an influence for my work ever since and also recently. One of them is Unity of Command, although I mean the original 2D title set on the Eastern Front. I've downloaded the original demo sometime before starting into Unity, and it was a big part of how I approach turn-based strategy tactics ever since, mostly taking inspiration from their simple yet brilliant combat system. When I then watched an excellent guide to strategy AI, link in the description, I then finally realized the wish of making my first single-player turn-based strategy game portraying Civil War battles, which I gave the extraordinary title of Civil War 1. Now this game is one of my favorite games I've ever made on Scratch, especially with the recent speeding up of the AI, as both the gameplay and the topic interested me ever since. I've recently made 2 more maps in a private work version, as well as a menu to finish up the game. However, the more I played the game, the more I saw how much potential it has with its unique-ish art style and setting. So I decided to make it another game I want to port over to Unity to allow for larger maps, more unit diversity and more interesting gameplay. So you will also be hearing from that project rather soon. It will be one of many to get ported over to Unity. This, however, is far from the only turn-based game I'm working on. While looking through r/strategy games on Reddit, I stumbled across the game Egypt vs Aliens. I downloaded it from itch.io and I was instantly hooked by the unique setting of it, ancient Egyptians fighting against alien invaders. The only thing lacking was an artistic direction and common style among the assets. So I reached out to the developer TensionSplice on the possibility of a collab, and we agreed on cooperating on the game. We are now working on it together and I'm working on some illustrations for the assets, but you will see when the time comes. And since we're already talking about strategy games, let's address the elephant in the room, Armor Platoon Leader. You might know it, it's the action strategy game about armored tanks platoons in World War II I'm developing. Last devlog I finally put on some post-processing for the color film effect I was going for. This was back in November.
There might not be many devlogs in the next month as I have schoolwork to do, but I'll try to work on the game as often as possible.
So that was a fucking lie.
But now you also know why I didn't upload another devlog, because I was busy with Battlefront Scratch, which I, however, couldn't talk about at the time to not spoil anything. But back in January 2021, I again looked at the game and actually made some changes to it again. And just the other day, I did some 3D modeling tests for the game, so I have the material and also the ideas for continuing on the project and devlogs again. So watch out for one maybe coming in March and from then on. Back in the first lockdown, I also started doing a bit of Warhammer stuff, looking into the Warhammer world, both 40k and fantasy, and some historical wargames, which certainly did influence my dive into turn-based strategy. I did some interesting things, so you might also see some stuff influenced by that coming here. While diving deeper into all of things history related since January, I've also joined the Armchair Historian Discord server, where I posted some interpretations of how Roman soldiers could look like in the Armchair Historian style, after which I was reached out to on the topic of a new history YouTube channel being currently created, in which I now hold the position of a director of visuals, which is pretty cool, as I can use the knowledge gained from the team coordination on the Battlefront Scratch project elsewhere. I'll keep you guys updated once there is anything exciting happening. On that project I also met Raphael, an amazing Portuguese artist who told me of a game project he was working on for which he was still looking for a game dev. I was thrilled to hear this. The idea for Infernal War 1889 is that it plays in an alternate timeline where some parts of history turned out differently. This is however not just pure imagination, but based around the magazine La Guerre Infernale from 1908 and other works by the French illustrator, caricaturist and novelist Albert Rodida. The game's visual style is also based off his steampunk illustrations from the 1880s to late 1900s. The idea of this setting is what makes the game unique, and with the amazing art of this was quite a bit of stuff to get through, but you've made it till here, congrats. As you can see, I have about a dozen projects on my hand here on top of school, but I'm very excited for all of them and I sure hope you are too. So I have a bunch of content about which you will get notified via YouTube, so make sure you are subscribed and have notifications on to get informed about all of this. There also is some other stuff coming up like Scratch tutorials and more, so I will definitely not be running out of ideas. Either way, thank you for watching, liking, subscribing. Special thanks to my supporters Bamfox and +1.